He is the public address announcer for the Denver Nuggets. We welcome Kyle Speller onto Hoopsology. How's it going, Kyle?
All right, all right. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty well. Thanks for joining us, and really
Mhm.
excited just to have you on the show. I think what inspired us to get a lot of the public address announcers was that recent NBA 2K video with all you guys on there. So
Yeah,
I think just like
nice.
the video kind of touched on what you guys do, but we want to kind of delve more into kind of your guys' backstory. What was your first basketball memory or your favorite basketball memory growing up?
Growing up, oh wow, okay. So for me, it was just playing. I'm originally from New York, and back then there was a guy by the name of Dr. J. I was playing, and I never really got to see him, but had heard of him, and that was kind of the thing for all the kids in my neighborhood. But didn't even really play. I played when I first moved here to Colorado, and that was when I first was introduced to the game playing wise, and I was terrible. But somewhere along the line, I began to play more and more, just in the neighborhood and whatnot. And then once I got into middle school, I played on the school team, and um, when I really became a fan was I got to meet Alex English. He came to our
Cool.
team banquet, and that was when I became a Nuggets fan and really dove in with basketball as well. And so I loved Alex English and the Nuggets at that point. And then the Lakers were really big. Showtime Lakers, Kareem, Magic, and James were all those guys. And I really fell in love with the game at that point then.
So before I ask you how you became, the public address announcer for the Denver Nuggets and get that story from you, what was it like just being a fan of the Nuggets, especially back then? Because like you
Mhm.
mentioned, the hot teams, the Nuggets don't really fall in that category. But he's
Right,
looking
right.
at the totality of the history of the NBA. So what was that
Mhm.
experience like? Showing that loyalty because I'm a Bulls fan. It's kind of like these days being a fan of a team for the majority of your life is kind of passe these days. Everybody is a fan of players. So what's it been like just being a Nuggets fan, just seeing his team go through different phases?
hmm well, for me, it was kind of like from that point on, it was almost like I began to grow up around them. They were really ingrained in our community. I remember going to a basketball camp. It was a Bobby Jones basketball camp, and different players would come through on that side to help out there. Um, and in the high school, I wound up going to Regis High School in Denver. It was the original campus was in Denver, not where it is located now in Aurora. And we shared the campus with Regis College at the time. It's Regis University right now. But there were points during that time where the Nuggets would actually come and practice at Regis. And so before my basketball practice, the Nuggets would be in the gym and they'd be working out, and we would just be standing there in the corner watching those guys get up and down, and that really, really, really ingrained that love for the Nuggets for me. And then back in those days too, they would just come on regular network television, and those games were broadcast on Channel Two with Marv Albert's brother, I believe it was, and I just remember all those days and just being a part of that, and that was I just became a fan in that sense, and it was just because they were just kind of a part of my surroundings and a part of everything that I was doing at that point in time.
So Kyle, let's focus on your journey, just becoming the public address announcer for the Nuggets, and you just being a long-term fan. How did that journey begin, and what was it like when you got the gig? Was it like a dream come true? What was that journey like?
Oh yeah. So for me, I always say it was God that opened that door, big time. It was only God that did that. Um, I was a rookie free agent with the Nuggets in '99, and then I was released. And so, but while I was there, I met a guy by the name of Tommy Shepard, who I forget what his role was at the time. He's with the Wizards now, but I contacted him because I knew that I had something with my voice that I would love to try to have that opportunity, but didn't know any kind of I didn't know how to go about doing it or anything like that. So I reached out to him about it. Nothing ever really came. He gave me a name of an individual to reach out to by the name of Sean Martinez, and so I would reach out to him periodically, just saying, "Hey, is there ever an opportunity to be a backup announcer?" For me, I always wanted to be the announcer and whatnot, and that actually comes from Justin, your Chicago Bulls back in the day, those Ray Clay days, and those player intros for Michael Jordan. I have
Nice.
goosebumps when I think about it right now. And that was when I knew that I wanted to do this as
Incredible.
well.
Yeah.
And that was what sparked that every single time. I loved watching the Bulls. I'm a Michael Jordan fan. He is the GOAT, and there is no disputing that. But in any case, watching that and listening, and I've got tell my age, I've got VCR tapes from the Chicago Bulls. I've got all the championships on VCR right now, and I could cue that up right now if necessary. But those intros is what got me in. And so never really knew how to go about doing it. Kept reaching out to Sean. Nothing ever happened. But in the process, one thing I would do is I would go around the state of Colorado playing on a prison basketball teams. And so it was a prison ministry through my church, and we would go and play against the prisons all over the state. And so we had like a full season of games. And so one of the things that I would do to just kind of encourage the inmates and kind of set the atmosphere in the prisons was I would do the player introductions.
Oh, awesome.
Who knew? Who knew that was my training ground for what I was going to be doing? And that's why I say it was all
Pretty
God.
cool.
God knew. and so there was this one day, me being a Nuggets fan, I was always on their website and all of that, just checking it. And it was one day, it was just one headline that just said, "Grab your microphones." And I looked at that, and it was an audition. And the assignment was, if you were the public address announcer, how would you do the player introductions? Well, I had been doing that in my head for years. And so at that point in time, I was working at the Comcast Media Center out in Littleton, and went into the studio and literally 5 minutes recorded a demo. The engineer put some sound effects on the back of it, some crowd noise, and we sent it in. And Sean called me back after all those years of reaching out to him and nothing. And that same guy, Sean Martinez, he called me back. He said mine was the only one that they liked, and brought me in. And that my trial run was the blue and white scrimmage at the Air Force Academy, and then the preseason opener against New Orleans Hornets at the time. And how I found out I got the job, there was a newspaper reporter that was kind of sitting at the table, and he said, "Hey, is this the new announcer?" And my boss looked over and said, "Yes, it is." And that's how I found out I got the job. And it's getting ready to start my 17th season. And so it's been an awesome run.
So during that time span, Kyle, I always wonder, like, what position you're in, and how do you approach just announcing these names, and especially like the opposing team. So,
Mm-hmm.
kind of what's your approach in terms of, you obviously you have your different styles in terms of either high energy or
Yeah.
kind of a classier style, but with the opposing team, it's kind of like you have to be professional, but yet you're rooting for the Nuggets, so you kind of have to hate
Mm-hmm.
them. But how do you walk that fine line in terms of kind of announcing like the opposition every night?
So for me at our arena, it's the visiting team is monotone. It's low key. There's a few names I have some fun with. Back when Kobe was alive, I would always give him some extra Kobe Bryant, or when he would get in foul trouble, he'd have 5 fouls. That's the 5th foul on Kobe Bryant, and the crowd goes wild. That type of thing. And so at the free throw line, I very monotone, try to give low bass, low baritone, and definitely I do things, just with different notes as well. And so, at the line shooting Lonzo Ball, that type of thing. And and the crowd, they know what to do. They know their cues. And then with our guys, it's high energy, just about all the time, and I have a lot of fun playing around and coming up with different things each season. Some different guys come and go, and get to have fun with different ones. And then there's just been some staples that have been there that have just evolved over time, but have been consistent as well. And just I love it. I love it. I love it.
Awesome. Do you have any type of like game day ritual or processes that you go
Mhm.
through on a game day, like getting ready for that or in the moment?
Well, for me, I'm also the team chaplain as well, and so
Oh,
I
cool.
get there at a certain time. It's only about 4:30 is what time I'll get there, and then I grab my scripts for the game, all the announcements, PSAs, all of that, and I just kind of go through it and I mark up my pages, put breaths in there on my scripts and all of that, and just read for typos so I don't, try not to get caught off guard with anything, and then we'll have our pregame entertainment meeting after that. And then after that, I come down and get ready for the chapel service. And then I spend time there. And then the chapel service, it's always 50 or 20 minutes. And I started at 60 minutes and ended at 40 minutes before tip off. And then head out to the floor and get ready for the game. And so that's been my kind of routine this whole time, greeting people, waving to people, and praying with people, all that, all throughout my passageways, throughout the halls and the elevators, and all of that as well. And that's just been my routine for sure.
Awesome. There's so much that goes on during a basketball game, so many noises in the arena,
Mhm.
outside of yourself, of course. How is it ever difficult to stay focused? And have you had any like bloopers during the game
Oh,
on the call?
oh yeah, I'm sure that there's tons of bloopers. There's
Has to
tons of
be. I
bloopers.
mean, there's so much
The,
that goes on.
Yeah, but I mean, none of those are ever really distractions for me. I don't get caught off guard by anything like that. We're always in the moment. As announcers, we kind of always have to be able to. Well, for me, with the way that I'm used at our arena, you kind of just always have to be prepared for anything in any and everything. There's been times where, like the shot clock stops working. And so then the officials will come
Mhm.
over to me and say, okay, so what you're going to do, you're going to count down, and they just tell you what to do. Okay, I'll do it. And you're counting down. And so everybody in the arena, the players, the officials are listening to you count down the time and whatnot. And so I'm looking at, a stopwatch by maybe the guy, one of the stat guys up the table. Um, the things that are kind of the funniest moments for me are things that get me to break, which are where they're just, humorous things. There's so much chatter going on in my headset or whatever. And whether it's Rocky, something, something out of the ordinary, whatever. Every now and then things just catch me off guard where it just cracks me up. And so, sometimes it's, you're reading a script and you just kind of bust out laughing in the midst of it. And you just get through it. And, but it lightens the atmosphere as well, and people are probably wondering, what are you laughing at? That type of thing, or whatever. And then everybody, my leadership, they're all cracking up. They're like, we got him, that type of thing, and all. And so, but yeah. And every now and then there's a challenging name or something along those lines. So you
Oh,
got to
sure.
slow down and go through
Mhm.
that process. But yeah, there throughout these years, there's been countless things that have happened. You just keep rolling, keep it rolling. You always have to keep in the back of your mind that this is entertainment, and so majority of the time the fans don't know what was supposed to happen or supposed to be happening. So you can just kind of play it off and not bring any attention to it and keep it rolling.